Hey, what's up, guys? Jake here with another episode of On the Rise Music Podcast. Been on a little bit of hiatus, but we've been cooking up some things for you guys. But hey, now we're back and we're here. We're here with special guest, DJ, producer, ill.Gates. Huge fan of music. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great actually. Yeah, life is good. I've been nesting my eggs for a long time, and now that things are ready to come back, I have a torrent of projects and all kinds of stuff that I've been saving up. Because I mean, I was going into 2020, I had an album that was ready to be released that ended up getting postponed by the pandemic. So I've released a few singles from that album, but I've got all kinds of music videos and stuff that are unreleased that are waiting to come out. There's the album itself, which is
Yeah,
coming out in September, as well as a bunch of other singles. And then I have a full second album that is also done with music videos that is ready to come out in January. Just did a compilation that just hit number
hmm
one today. And then I got a whole bunch of singles, and I just finished a remix for 42 Doug, who's
yeah,
Billboard
that's
Top
right.
100 rapper. That came out, and that's crushing too. Doing a music festival and stuff, and then yeah, living the dream. Life is good, no complaints.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it sounds like you really just hit the ground running in terms of like creativity and everything like in like during the pandemic. I mean, like you said, you nested you were nesting your eggs, and now all of a sudden they're ready to hatch. So now dude, yeah, you got a packed lineup. Yeah, like you said, the 42 Doug, like that thing went crazy. Like that's just insane. So how did that collab and that remix come about?
Okay, cool. So as you may or may not know, I run a record label and music coaching community known as
Hmm.
Producer Dojo. And
That's right.
before
Yes.
it was Producer Dojo, I had just because my so the last three albums that I've done are part of this airport series. There was Terminally Ill first, followed by
Hmm.
Departures, and now the album in September is The Arrival. I love traveling, and I love getting inspired by different places in the world. So when I made Terminally Ill and Departures, I was looking for a way that I could enable myself to live a nomadic lifestyle, travel around the world, being inspired by different places and different sounds. And I turned to Patreon, and Patreon
Okay.
is a very, very cool platform whereby artists can connect directly with their most core fans
Hmm.
and generate a residual recurring income from people who love them and want to support their art. So I had started off a Patreon account in, I think, 2015,
Oh
and I
wow.
became
Okay.
friends with Jack Conti, the creator of Patreon, and and at the beginning, I had because I've always been a music educator. Like my mom is a teacher and my dad a professional full-time guitarist, so I always had music and teaching just as part of my life. And back in 2011, I did a workshop called the Ill Methodology that ended up like blowing up. And I mean, I think that workshop, I've sold almost like $400,000 worth of that one file from that workshop over the years.
Been
Like
a
it
killing,
really
I
blew
know.
up. Like, so G Jones took it before he blew up. Minnesota took it before he blew up.
Okay.
Millennium took it before he blew up.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Okay.
Beef Antique, Mimosa, like tons of producers
Damn. All
were
right.
came to the workshop and grew into awesome producers. So I was like, okay, well, I want to make teaching a part of my Patreon, right?
Hmm.
So I started doing these one-on-one lessons remotely in 2015 with a core of like basically the spots sold out like the first 2 days that I had it open, and I had this core of 12 people that were my monthly students that would support me every month, and I would train with them, and that enabled me to go travel around the world and start working on the airport series. And one of my original students from those days is a guy by the name of Ionize, who is a producer who he kind of like he's one of those people who's just like insanely good at anything he does. Like if you check
Okay.
out the original music video that he did for Polar Bear with Gucci Mane, which is
Yeah.
another track that I ended up remixing for him, he directed and conceived of everything in that original music video. And
Okay.
it's like, it's insane. And I mean, the guy can like draw and paint, he can make music, he's like really good at running companies. He's basically like Tony Stark, right? So anyway, so I was training with him, and from that original core group of 12 producers, they all started getting really good really quick. And 10 of them got good enough that I decided I was going to put together a compilation that I called the Class of 808. And I put together that compilation and released it on the record label that I was on at the time, and I still am on, called Muti Music, M-U-T-I Music, running out of San Francisco by one of my best friends ever and the best man at my wedding, Dov One. He's a rad dude. He's really like down for the culture and has supported many emerging artists over the years. And many of the artists that have grown out of that label have gone on to do great things. So we released the Class of 808 compilation on Muti Music, and 10 out of the 12 original students ended up getting good enough to release on it, and it did well. And then kind of after that blew up, the obvious thing was like, oh, okay, well, I should probably start a record label, number one. And number two, we're just making way too much content for the Patreon system. So I decided to create my own website with some of the members, actually, some of the original members helped create the website that is now Producer Dojo. And I split off from Muti Music and split off from Patreon to have my label and coaching community and Producer Dojo. I still use Patreon as a musician, and there are all kinds of my exclusive unreleased tracks that are available nowhere else but my Patreon, and I do directly interact with my fans there, but I decided to make that more like for ill.gates the artist, and then to have Producer Dojo for myself as an educator and music curator, right? So anyway, Ionize was one of the original 12. And he went on to become, he actually, fun fact that not very many people know, that he was Arco, A-R-K-O, on the Class of 808 compilation.
Okay.
That was before he created his Ionize alias. But he went on to create this Ionize alias, and he's just like, he really knows how to make connections and how to make great music. So he ended up making rap records with like he was the last person to record with Prodigy from Mobb Deep before he passed away. Okay. And then he's got tracks with like Redman and Method Man and Rick Ross, T.I., Gucci Mane, like all these people now, right?
Yeah, big
so
names.
after he blew up, he was like, hey, thanks, Teach, really appreciate that. And he came back and pitched me on the idea of holding like an internal Producer Dojo, like elite Class of 808 remix competition for his track with Gucci Mane called Polar Bear. So we did it, and he put out my remix along with a remix from one of our stars in Producer Dojo, 6th Street, who's like, he's a full-time choreographer. Like he gets flown to like India to like choreograph all these elaborate dance things and stuff all the time. And he's just like, it's great. I don't know how he does it. He's like, I think like 23, 24 or something. And he's just like, he's already like crazy successful as a choreographer. And his music is insane because he has this like really deep level understanding of music from being a dancer. And in my opinion, if you want to understand composition of electronic dance music, you should get into dance. Like a DJ who doesn't dance, it's like an author who doesn't read. It's like you got to know, you gotta know how it works, right? So anyway, so 6th Street killed it. He was on the 6th Street in my remix. We're both on the Ionize EP, and then we had one of my old homies, Black Lake Media. His name is Matt. And he remixed the Ionize video by like loading it into VHS machines that were like semi-broken and recording the results and made this remix video. And then the remix video has like 3+ million plays on YouTube now for my remix. So Ionize was like, well, that went well. Let's do it again. So when he had this new track with 42 Doug and two other vocalists, Raekwon from Wu-Tang, his brother Des Eagle does the main
Right.
hook on the
Yeah.
track. And then there's this dude who put a crazy verse named Kayvon Jacobs, who he's like kind of a behind the scenes writer type dude. So if you look him up on like SoundCloud or Spotify, he doesn't really maintain his profiles, but he writes for a lot of big names, and his verse is tight, man. Like it's really, really good. So it's not just 42 Doug on the track. I and I just didn't want to have the track credit be like a whole paragraph.
Yeah.
So but they are also on the track, and Des Eagle did the hook, and he did a great job of it. So I again directed another music video for it, and he came to me to manage the creation of the remix EP. So we got EPROM on it, which is great. I love EPROM. He's one of my favorite producers. I was honored to remix the first ever EPROM record. It was called 64 Bites the Dust back on Attic Tech Records in like, God, I think it was like 12 years ago or something. Jesus, I feel old now. But you know, I've been a big backer of EPROM since the beginning. Like we went on tour in Australia together, and you know, like he's the homie, man. He's the homie. He's a really talented dude. So we got EPROM on the job, and his remix is like just spraying confetti. And then we also held another internal producer dojo remix competition where I, you know, gave all of my elite members of the training crew the chance to remix it, and then we released the best ones. And I originally he only wanted one remix from the dojo people, but so many of them killed it that my remix made it, Rip Kenny's remix made it, and Ahi's remix made it, and then Crash.
That was a former guest.
Yeah. Oh, really? Cool.
Ahi was, yeah.
Yeah, he's so talented, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's super. He's got some crazy things to say too. He's just an interesting guy.
Yeah. Well, I knew him from back when he was doing all the music for the kind of like Burning Man Cirque du Soleil group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they would do these crazy shows with like acrobats and fire and like super like crazy circus music. And he was the musical director for that. So I played a bunch of shows with them, and you know, and then of course Burning Man and everything. So, but yeah, it's been really cool watching Ahi come to his own, and he's someone who I've always really believed in. We put out one of his EPs on the dojo label, and he's both a student and a trainer at the dojo, and he's also one of my friends. Like he teaches me stuff all the time. I teach him stuff all the time. He's like one of those people who's really not guarded about his secrets. You know, I always feel like the people who are afraid to share the sauce are people who have a finite amount of sauce. And, you know, Ahi, like me, knows how to tap into the infinite sauce. So there's always more to share with him. And he's very, very open with that. And I think it's done big things for his career and for the connections he's made. And it's been really good to see him blow up. But yeah, so all of the remixes are totally different from each other. And it really came together well. And just seeing the reactions, you know, has been great. Cause like he's a marketing genius, and he'll like, you know, he makes like crazy meme videos for Instagram that go viral and get people to like check out the tracks and stuff. But he does not pay for blog coverage because it's kind of bullshit to pay for blog coverage. Like,
I don't blame you.
People who like the record, you know.
Yeah, they'll just push it.
Yeah, so all the coverage that we got from it was totally organic and stuff, and that's been really cool. But yeah, Ionize has definitely been like, you know, he'll get all the spicy memes and like, you know, get them out there on Instagram. So he really knows how to draw attention to a project. But yeah, so it really blew up and did well, and that's been super crushing, and it's been so fun to get a chance to work with these like huge rappers that are just like totally, you know, I mean, I've worked with a lot of rappers, but not Gucci Mane and not 42
Doug, yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's so crazy, dude, that you literally started out like just kind of doing something and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden the fact that you were just like, I mean, just talking to you right now, you're a bubbly guy, you're very enthusiastic, so that personality like just took you places where you didn't like, dude, you worked with these huge name artists, and you like, I'm pretty sure you were just like, oh no, I just believe in you, like I'm just gonna give you a shot and just work with you. And that's so like inspiring to see. Like you said, if you hold on to like what you like, if you hold on to what you know and don't share it, yeah, you're obviously not going to be able. Yeah, you might be able good for like a couple minutes, but I mean, if you're able to like grow and learn and do all these things like you did, like you didn't limit yourself. One door opened or one door closed, another door opened. Like you said about Patreon, it got too small, and you're like, dude, I gotta go move on and do my own
Yeah,
thing, and
I
then you
still
started.
do absolutely love Patreon though. And
Mhm.
I still use Patreon like every week. I'm in there, you know. I mean, I check my Patreon messages every day. I'm still like very pro Patreon. So don't get me wrong on that. It's just our content's just like the amount of content
Yeah.
coming out was just it was too much. And it's also like it's kind of good to separate, like if you're a music educator, it's kind of good to separate like your artist self and your educator self.
Hmm.
It's like if I did like updates for everything that happens in the dojo on my social media profiles, it would be like every day there would be another
Yeah.
piece of news. And it was just like there's so much going on. Like there's like 1,000+ people in the dojo. So it's like it would just get to be too much, you know? So
Yeah. No, I
I think
understand.
there's definitely there's things to be said for separating things. And that was more the logic behind it. It's not like Patreon sucks.
You just
Patreon
dumped it.
is
Yeah.
awesome. Patreon is awesome. And I
um,
subscribe to a lot of artists on Patreon. It's really cool to see, especially since the pandemic, a lot of artists turned to
mhm.
Patreon, and people who would never have been making tutorials and stuff are making, like I'm subscribed to the Noisia Patreon, and it is
Okay.
so sick, dude. Their production tutorials are crazy, like super good.
Yeah, that's that it's like you said, you support artists and you're still continuing to do it on Patreon. It's just like that's how people, and I'm talking to friends too, because same thing with us with On the Rise. We were just like trying to connecting, building relationships with people, and just like, yeah, trusting in people. That's why we give the interviews, the On the Rise interviews. We're put some faith in you, like, hey, you're gonna pop, or like you already popped, and you're just doing your thing right now. Like, yeah, that just that trust and faith in another artist is does a lot for them, especially because it allows them to basically be like, oh, I guess I am doing something right.
Oh, totally. And I think too, it's like, you know, it's really hard to predict the future, you know?
Hmm.
And I think like when you just like when you kind of like let go of that and just like stop trying to be so like calculated about everything, it's like it's better for your soul, you know, to just like
Definitely.
live in the moment. And
Hmm.
and when you like I don't know if you're familiar with like the Stanford prison experiment or
Yeah.
any of those other, or like what they call enclosed cognition, where like they, because like psychologists used to believe that there were like very pronounced biological differences in mental capacity between men and
Okay.
women. And they found that when you design experiments to compensate for these cultural variables, there's
Hmm.
actually very little difference between the genders in terms of like, I mean, like there's certain things like for example like the testosterone
Yeah, of
makes it so
course.
you think like spatially differently, you know, because like traditionally men were evolved to like hunt and stuff. So there are some
Hmm.
like spatial like map related things. And then people who are you know, who are doing gender reassignment surgery and hormone treatments and stuff, there have been some changes in the brain. So it's not like they're totally exactly the same. There are differences, but
Hmm.
psychologists used to believe that, like, for example, women were like not capable in the STEM fields. And
Yeah, that's right.
they designed these experiments where they would put, you know, they'd put women in bikinis and give them a math test, and then they would put women in lab coats and give them a math test. And the women in lab coats would like crush the math
Yeah.
test. And you know, and it's just like so much of it is like priming. And you
Mhm.
know, we, or like in the Stanford prison experiment when they took a bunch of students and they randomly assigned them to be either prisoners or guards with no moral failures. No one did anything bad to land in
Yeah.
these prisons. Then within like literally like a day or two, the guards were like totally abusing the prisoners and being
Yeah.
terrible because like how you dress, how you're treated, you know, we become the roles that we feel others expect of us. We become those roles due to the kind of framing of the situation. And you know, when you treat people in a way that shows
Yeah, it's
them,
like the I'm sorry, but it's like the Pygmalion effect.
what's the Pygmalion effect?
it's pretty much the same thing. Like if you were to like put faith into someone and you're like, oh, you're gonna do great. You're gonna be a great athlete, and you continue to have that faith in them, then they're obviously gonna meet your expectations. But if someone that you're pretty much like, oh, they're not good. Like I'm not gonna put any attention on them. I'm just gonna tear them down when they do something bad. They're just gonna continually do bad because in their mind they're like, you don't expect anything more of me, so I don't expect anything more of myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I find like, when you stop trying to be so calculated about things and you just treat everybody as if you expect greatness from them, they will become great. And
Hmm.
it's like there's so many times when like I've had a track that I thought was going to be the hit off of the record fizzle, and then some track that was like, I was just in a particular mood that day and didn't really think much of it.
Hmm.
That track ends up like being someone's alarm clock, or like they play it at a funeral or
Yeah.
something, and you're like, what, that's the one you played at the funeral? Okay.
Hmm.
And it's I've just kind of like over the years I've learned to really just like stop trying to be so calculated and just let go of all that, and to just treat everybody as though I expect greatness from them, and as though they are just as capable of greatness as anyone else. And man, the specialness that emerges out of people, and the surprises that you get
Yeah,
when
definitely.
you approach your career and approach people that way, I've just like I can't go back. It's been so much more fruitful since I made the decision to like not be calculated and not be super strategic and all that, because you just can't predict the future, and
No.
nobody can really predict the masses. Like it's like you just got to see. You got to get
Definitely.
feedback, you got to listen, you got to be sensitive to others, you got to be
Hmm.
sensitive to your audience, and just like open your mind and open your inbox to real feedback from real people, because
Hmm.
nobody's got it all figured out, man. Nobody.
No, and that's what's so crazy. That was one thing I was realizing was because I recently just graduated from college, and I was just the whole thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And just the whole thing is just like like a couple of weeks leading up to the graduation and everything. I was just like, man, life is so weird. Like as rudimentary as it is, no one has no. There's no instructions. There's no guidelines. Like, but once you let go and you realize that, you're just like, I just got to experience it and then figure out stuff along the way. Like you said, live in the moment and don't like try not to be so calculated. It's freeing, even though it's like, yeah, it's a little anxious to see what's gonna come. Like as long as you're like, I trust in what I'm doing. I got people who trust in what I'm gonna do. Like just let go and just live. And it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much more fruitful. Your mind is not as held back and everything. Like for instance, myself and my friends we're writing like some TV shows and stuff. And as soon as we
Cool.
were like, let's just write. Like let's and my friends were like, dude, stop planning and everything. Just sit down and write it. And sure enough, sure like everything came. It was just like no thinking anything. So it's like, yeah, that whole idea of just living in the present and just forgetting about like being so calculated and everything, dude, it's so liberating. It's so rewarding too.
Yeah, it really helps, man. And I mean, I never even thought that I was gonna be like a full-time musician, like the people around
Yeah.
me growing up, they were like, yeah, that's not realistic. Like,
Yeah.
you're in for a world of hurt. You know how many people try to be musicians and fail? Like statistically, you're gonna fail.
Hmm.
And I was just like, dude, I don't care if I fail. I have to do this. I have to give it a
Yeah,
shot.
definitely.
And now that I'm on the other side of it, I mean, it's kind of like the competition for the realistic goal is much more fierce than the competition for the realistic goal, because there
Mm.
are so many more people. Like I think like if I were in a traditional workplace, I would probably do terribly. Like I always have weird hair, I have weird opinions, I say whatever's on my mind, I swear all the time, and it's just like, and I'm just allergic to being told what to do,
I get
and
it.
it's just
No, I
like
get it.
I
Trust me.
would be so bad. I would be such a bad employee.
No,
But
I,
at
I
the same
totally
time,
understand.
I'm great at running a business, but
Hmm.
I would be a terrible employee. So it's just, I don't know. I think like, if you're out there and you're on the fence about whatever you want to do, just know that it is possible. It's probably not going to happen overnight, and it's
Yeah,
definitely not
I
going to
know.
happen without putting the work in.
Yep.
But it's like, everything you see around you is just a dream to someone at some point. you
Oh,
know? And
totally.
it is all possible. And if you live in a first world affluent country, you can fuck up so bad
Yeah, and still have
and
chances.
try again later. Do something else. You're
I know. Yeah,
fine.
my parents are always saying that. They're like, "That's what's so great about America. You can literally just screw up all through high school, go to JC, or take a couple years off, and then go back to whatever you want to do. Like, if you want to get an education, like they're just using that as an example. They're like, dude, you can get your education, even if it takes you like 10, 15, 20 years. You're gonna have the opportunity to still get it. So yeah, like, dude, why would you not just shoot for something that's just a dream of yours?
Yo, your parents sound pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I didn't realize that till like this the last year and a half, but I was like, damn, my parents might have been onto something when I was growing up.
Yeah, that's how you're graduating. You're out there taking risks.
Yeah, I'm
Because like
trying.
like when you talk to people who are at the end of their life, the things that they regret most are the risks that they did not take.
Hmm.
No one's
Definitely.
ever like, oh, I wish I spent more time at the office.
Yeah.
No one ever thinks that. They're like, oh, I never went to Paris. I never wrote that novel.
Hmm.
I never told that person that I loved them. Those are the regrets people have. And I think like
Yeah.
like we're biologically programmed to be very risk averse because we evolved in like caves
Hmm.
or whatever, where you could get eaten by a saber-toothed
Yeah, if you
tiger.
go
But like,
outside.
it's just not our world anymore, and it's going to take a
Exactly.
million years for evolution to catch up. And because of technology, our world changes so fast.
Hmm.
You have to recognize like the evolutionary programming that is in your biology is maladaptive for your current reality. And you
100%.
got to recognize like you are not your thoughts, you are not your urges. Like
Yeah,
that
you're you.
there's this monkey brain, and then there's the observer.
Yep.
And it's like it's up to you to make conscious decisions, because the mind can change the mind.
Oh,
Like you
definitely.
can exert conscious control. And it's really just I mean, so much of it is just accepting responsibility for your own life, and
100%.
accepting just taking risks. Like it's just so worth it. The payoff
Mm.
is so worth it. And the actual bad stuff that can happen, like people take way worse risks in like YouTube videos, man. Like when
Oh,
like
for
people,
sure.
it was like, oh, I'm gonna jump off the roof into the pool. Like, oh, now you need a wheelchair for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's a physical risk. This is more so like just something off a whim. Like, hey, you can't, like, again, we're the first world country. Like, why would you not just shoot your shot? Like, I don't mean to be like ragging on people that don't have the same opportunities as us, but it's like in
Yeah,
reality, like like that's a physical element, but it's like you could just take a risk on a dream of yours, and hey, who knows? You might just shoot for this moon and might just grab some stars on the way down. You never know.
yeah, definitely. And and I'm not just I also too, I want to say that just to recognize that there are definitely a lot of people who are not in that position, even
Mm.
in America, Canada, UK, etc. That there are people who are definitely in those positions. So I definitely, I don't want to be dismissive of the
Yeah,
problematic
no.
economic realities that a lot of people face, um, but the access to information and education out there on the internet, it is out there.
Hmm.
And like, I mean, even ionize, like, the dude was a janitor once and he's a millionaire now. Like
There
he
you
was
go.
working for minimum wage, and he's a
Hmm.
millionaire working with all his favorite rappers and stuff, and that's his side hustle. Like, so you can do it, man. You can do it. And
Yeah, that's exactly how we started here. I mean, it was just an idea. Like a couple years ago, I used to watch or the No Jumper podcast, and I used to be like, God, that's so cool how he just hangs out, interviews artists, and then just like vlogs about his life. And just for a while, it had just been something that I just kept in the back of my mind. And all of a sudden, my friend reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Dude, no way! You literally read my mind from like
that's
3 years ago."
awesome.
Sure enough, started it, grinding it out. Hey, we're gonna host our first show coming October, and we're just trying to branch out from here. But yeah, like you
Cool.
said, it's not an overnight process. It took about a year for us
No.
to really like find our footing and everything, build connections, really get our name out there. And I mean, hey, who knows what can happen from here? And like seriously,
Well, and one of the best ways, like if you're out there and you're trying to get into the music industry, one of the best ways to get into the music industry is to make yourself useful.
Yes,
Make yourself of
100%.
service. And I think like so many people, they're like, oh, I'm just going to make my music the best that I can. And then just like run around shoving demos into people's hands and stuff. And like when you're talking to people and it's like obviously a transactional thing and you're like, hey, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? What can you do for me? Nobody has time for that. I
Yeah.
don't have time for that. Like there's so many times where like, people will DM me and I reply to DMs. I'm nice, and I'll talk to them and they're like, okay, he got a reply. And like literally the second reply is like, okay, I want you to do a remix for me. Or like, I want you to do this. And it's just like, dude, like you think I don't have anything else in my life? Like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah,
on.
you're a busy man. I mean, hey, you dropped a ton of things coming soon this week alone. Like, yeah, you got some stuff to do. Like, unfortunately, hey, like you have to you got to bring something to. You can't just be like one like single like one facet or single
Yeah,
facet or I guess for
totally.
lack of better
and
terms.
and like if you like start a podcast where you're
Hmm.
helping artists promote stuff, or even just like figure out who's managing artists that you like and be like, yo, can I intern for you?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
just go intern for someone who's managing a relevant artist to you, dude. Like especially during the pandemic, like
Hmm.
all those artist managers, like most of their money is coming from shows, you know
Yeah.
like it's rare. Like, yeah, I mean, they might be getting licensing gigs or whatever or selling
Hmm.
merch, but like the majority of any artist's money is coming from shows, and without the shows, like
Hmm.
those managers are strapped for cash. Like they got bills to pay too. And if you're like, hey, let me help you edit your ISRC data with your PRO to collect royalties, or like all this
Yeah.
boring crap that they
Yeah.
don't want to
Exactly.
do. They're like, oh, you're gonna do boring crap for free?
Yeah. By all means.
Yeah. And then the next thing you know, you're hanging out regularly with the manager of your favorite artist who has all the right connections for you, and they owe you a favor. And
Oh,
it's just like,
definitely.
that kind of thing. Like for me, it was like I was in art school, and me and my homies like put together a like party decoration art crew, and we'd like build like giant robots and like do graffiti demos and stuff. And all the promoters, they wanted access to our decorations and art and our breakdance crew and stuff. So they would be like, okay, well, we want to book you guys for the party. And I was like, yeah, sweet. Do I get to DJ or what? And they'd be like, all right. So I got to play like everybody. This was like in the 90s, so all anybody wanted to listen to was like house and trance. And I was like
Oh, okay.
playing cool breakbeat music for people who didn't even know that was a thing. And it worked. It worked. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, that's why I mean, Jimmy Iovine, head of Interscope, started out
Hmm.
as a coffee boy, you know?
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. That's the other thing too. I was talking to a couple friends of mine, and they're like, "Oh, the unpaid internships, blah blah blah." And it's like, I know it sucks, but one, you're living at home with your parents. Two, like you got to start somewhere. So it's like, why would you really knock something if you haven't even gotten your foot in the door? Like you have no leverage or anything. And unfortunately, if you're a nobody, you have to really just pick up the crap, basically.
Yeah, and like let's say you're a musician and you're trying to start out, first few gigs you are playing for free.
Hmm.
Like until you can sell concert tickets, your time is not worth much.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah, they have nothing to base your salary off of or your worth off of, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, what's a piece of art worth? It's worth what people will pay for it.
Hmm.
That's
Exactly.
why there are incredibly talented artists languishing in obscurity, and that's why there are people making millions of dollars off of fucking trash. What people will pay for it determines the amount
Definitely.
of it's worth. And it's like, like so many people are like, the music industry isn't fair, and it's like, really, go look at the lineup and look how many listens those people have Spotify, and you'll see that the order of sets
Yeah.
directly correlates to how many listeners those artists have, like very directly. you
That's
know
true.
it is fair. It's not a metric people like, but it's
Yeah,
fair
but hey, it
measured
is what
by
it
that
is.
metric. you know but yeah, anyway, yeah. But I mean, it's there's definitely there's reason to hustle, and there's reason for you to believe in yourself. TLDR, you can do it out there. I believe in
Yes.
you.
We do too. Like I was saying earlier, we we just started off with the podcast with nothing. We started off with a few guests, and I mean, we're about to throw our first show. Like that's crazy. And the fact that we have even the people, some of the people we're working with, being like, yo, like honestly, you guys could probably make a killing off of this. Like if you just keep pushing it and really getting it under your belt. And it's just like, wow, we want to expand. We want to do something bigger. We want to have our own label like you do. We want to help. Like it's something bigger, but it's like you have to always start somewhere. You always got to start from the bottom. So, but yeah, it's a crazy world. Literally, and I was talking to my friends about this. It's like everyone gives you the secrets to success, but no one ever really understands the secrets to success. Like the whole be yourself, do what you love. Like do what you love and you'll never work.
Yeah, they're cliches. Like we've heard them many times that we're like,
well, yeah, sure.
Then everybody would do it. And it's like, well, it actually is that. There are you just have to do that. You have to do that.
Because I was seeing all these people, just like successful people that I like idolize, and they're saying the same exact thing. And it's like for a second I was like, all right, you need to shut up. And then when I really took a step back, I was just like, damn, maybe they were right. I mean, they were in the position that I want to be in. So maybe I should listen to them. And sure enough, I mean, hey, believe in yourself, put in the hard work, and everything will fall into place.
Yeah, for real. So hey, I speaking of throwing events, I was hoping to talk about my event coming up July 10th.
By all means.
Okay, so and if you're watching this past July 11th, 2021, which I'm sure many of you are, don't worry, you can watch the replay.
There we go.
Organized a 2-day festival with my squad at Producer Dojo on Saturday, July 10th. We are having a music video performance lineup that is going to be awesome. There's like, I think 12 different artists that are all really, really tight. And then I'm doing my audio video performance. I do like audio video DJ sets where I make music videos for all my songs and then DJ them. And I have my performance system set up with Serato and this plugin called Mix Emergency, where you can time sync exactly the video to the audio. So like if you scratch it, the word comes in and out of their mouth. So they're like, there's just visuals playing and then audio. They're like audio visual pieces.
That's crazy.
So all my new tour and stuff is like that. I mean, I've been doing that for years, but yeah, so I've got a pretty cool audio visual performance that I've put together, and we've got a great lineup with lots of really talented people, including Future Twist, who are coming up really hard. If you like that, like, you know, big room, like dubstep, drum and bass, color bass, rhythm, like really melodic, like just sounds like money falling from the sky. Like it's great. They're great. So they're playing to. We've got Crypto Chronica and our number 2 selling artist Shadow Star, who does really cool deep house, as well as a lot of like up and comers and like dojo staples. I mean, I'm not gonna run down the whole lineup, but it's a pretty awesome lineup. So we've got that coming up. And then on the Sunday, July 11th, we have an educational summit where we've all been really like curating different lessons that are going to be like edited and tight. It's not like a live thing where they're like, hey, I don't know, okay, well, load this thing and show you that. Like edited, nice, tight videos. So I've gone and curated every one of the videos, and then I'm doing a track breakdown of my Gucci Mane remix that got 3 million plays, as well as doing track feedback for a lot of people live and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So if you go to producerdojo.com/RSVP, you can get into the summit. So the music portion is going to be streaming on Twitch and YouTube, but the summit is members only because we don't want people bootlegging it. So the summit is members only, and you need to RSVP for the summit. So it's producerdojo.com/RSVP. If you are watching this en futur, you can go to producerdojo.com/summit. And if you go to producerdojo.com/summit now, you can check out last year's summit, which was really cool. We did it at the beginning of the pandemic. We were like, okay, we got to encourage people to stay inside. Everybody's losing their minds. Let's give it a
good idea
inside and stuff. And we kind of like, you know, we put it together pretty quick, and it was really tight, but it was like 4 hours long. So summit this year is like 2 days long. So there's like a full day of music followed by a full day of education, all free. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that, and I'm really just the amount that the community has grown from everybody being locked in their houses and their studios for a year. Oh my god, the music is like so much better. Everybody's education is so much better. I mean, my
I
shit
bet.
is way more on point than it was a year ago. I mean, I was like on the road every weekend, like 3 cities a week for like 10 years, you know? And like if you're doing 3 cities a week, 2 flights, usually you got a connection for each of the flights. That's 8 flights a week. And it was like that
Damn.
every week for like 10 years. So I did not have time to be like,
Yeah, slow
you
down
know,
and really just consume.
uninterrupted study and like
Definitely.
honing my craft. Like, you know, I make beats on my MPC on the plane and stuff, and that was fun. But like, man, having just like this just expanse of time to
Yeah.
study and up my game, and like, and even just like I love using my module. I can't bring this on the road with me, you know.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So I've been making all kinds of like sample packs and new sounds and stuff, and really honing my craft. But everyone in the dojo, like the dojo was just the center of all of our lives throughout the pandemic. Like it was our
That's
social
wonderful.
circles, it was our, you know, our friends, our community, and like the music, and everybody's just devouring all the tutorials. And like I do a new class every week on a completely different
Hmm.
subject, and
Okay.
we're up to 200. This week will be 237. So that's at the weeklydownload.com. And that's like $5 a week to come to the live classes, and you get the full archive. So you get
Wow. Okay.
237 live classes, have like templates, sound packs, downloads, presets. Like I made all kinds of serum wave tables out of my hardware synths, and like all kinds of stuff just forever. So that's at the weeklydownload.com. But anyway, people have been really getting it done, and yeah, the music is chef's kiss for this summit. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm just so excited to see my homies blowing up. You know, like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, what is his name? Young Thug said something like, "I never hate to see my brother win or make more money than me because I prayed for that," or something like that. So it's just like, yeah, that feeling where it's just like everyone's successful, and even if they're making more, even if they're making more or doing more things than you, you're like, dude, this is what I wanted. Like, I could really care less. Like, you're doing your thing. Like, go ahead, by all
Yeah.
means.
Oh, totally. And I mean, like, I think like, you know, there's people who approach music as like a zero sum game where for them to win, other people must lose, which
Yeah,
is true if you're trying to be number one at anything. But like, you know, I think when you approach it with like a more abundance mindset, like for me, like I want to spend my life being happy, dedicating myself 100% to my craft,
mm-hmm.
and just spending time with people I love and in control of my own life, so that I don't have anyone else telling me what to do, and I get to call the shots, and I get to, you know, and be successful in that. Like I'm not trying to be the most famous person. Like I know a lot of famous people, and there is a price to fame, yo. Like there
Yeah,
really is.
no,
Like
definitely, I get it.
I mean, I've
Can't do
had some
certain
like
things.
I'm not that famous, and I had fans show up at my mom's house. You know, like
Jesus.
yeah, it's a bit weird. That's why I don't have a Facebook account. I haven't had a Facebook account in 10 years because of that. So it's like, you know, there's definitely a price. And I mean, if like, yeah, if you're trying to be number one and you're trying to be the most famous and the most whatever, like, yeah, you know, for sure there can be only one. But like if you're just trying to have a good life where you can like live comfortably making art and being in control of your own how you spend your time, that's
Mm,
a very achievable goal, man. That is a very
100%.
achievable goal.
100%. I agree. Yeah,
And it
it's
does
yeah,
not
like we
come at
said.
the cost.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Yeah, I was about to say like like you have mentored and taught a lot of these like huge, big name artists, except like you're kind of still on the DL.
Yeah,
So it's like yeah,
I
that
try to keep it that way. I'm not
no,
trying to,
I don't blame
yeah,
you.
I'm not
Like
trying
I
to
that
be that famous. Yeah, it gets weird, man. Like
I
I
understand.
remember hanging out with, like I say, it was Skrillex at Shambhala the one year,
Okay.
and there was this dude following him like 15 feet away that he was dressed up as Squirrel X, which was like Skrillex squirrel. And he's just following the motherfucker around like the whole time. And the guy's just like trying to hang out with his friends. And there's this weird fucking dude dressed up as him, like 15 feet away. I'm like, yo, no, thank you, man. That would fuck me up. I would be like going to bed.
You
and
get the
like,
fuck out of here.
Outside my house? Like, what the fuck? You know?
Dude, that's the same exact thing that happened to ASAP Rocky, like 2 years ago when they were being followed. Him and ASAP Mob were being followed in Sweden.
Friend Stefan Jacobs was there. He was ASAP Rocky's tour DJ. Do you know Stefan Jacobs, like from Bossa? He's like a LA producer.
I feel like I've heard that name. But like,
I collabed with him on like my last couple albums, and he's on the next. He's like on all three in the Airport trilogy. But yeah, he's a homie. But he did the playback for Brockhampton, and then
no way, I was a huge Brockhampton. I'm a huge Brockhampton fan.
Yeah, they're super dope, man. They're super dope. But yeah, so he was there, and he was like trapped in Europe with just like twiddling his thumbs while they all out, like.
That's the same exact thing. The dude was just not leaving him alone. They're like, dude, and he was like, hey, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're tired of this shit. It's just like, yo, you don't, like, sometimes, like, I don't blame you for wanting to be more on the man behind the curtain.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I'm could support myself very comfortably. I spend my time doing what I want. Nobody bugs me. It's awesome. Like I'm super happy
for you, man. Nah, that's beautiful. That's honestly what me and the On the Rise team is trying to do. Like, hey, we're not trying to be on the forefront. We're trying to be more so a little bit more reserved. I mean, granted, I just said that and I just realized I'm the face of the podcast, but that's a different story. Eventually, hopefully we can get someone else. No one dressed up as me, dressed in a squirrel, but that I might have to draw the line there.
Yeah, super weird, man. Super weird. Word. But yeah, and then also speaking of the homies leaving the nest and becoming successful, let's talk about the Obscurities Volume 2, which hit #1 today. Of
course, yeah.
I'm super pumped about this compilation. I got approached by a fantastic record label out of New York called Obscure with a K, and they're big fans of the dojo, and they were like, yo, there's some serious emerging talent here. Let's get in while the getting's good. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, how would you like to curate a compilation? So I was like, yeah, sure. And sat down with the homies, and we did because I'm always bringing work opportunities inside the dojo to them. So I, put out the feelers for it, and we got a whole whack of awesome like space-based tracks, because it was like a space-based compilation or like left field bass, experimental bass. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're calling it, without saying glitch hop. But yeah, nobody wants to call things, like anytime a genre has been around, like I love on drum and bass, they're like, it's drum and bass. Like, let's just, it's drum and bass. Like, that's what it is. Or like house music, they're like, it's just house music. But like when you're like trying to define yourself by being like edgy and different, it's like the same genre. Come on.
Yeah, it's genre. It's like dressing a pig in lipstick or something.
Yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, so whatever that like left field experimental, people call it space based now. They'll probably call it something else in 2 years. I don't know. But anyway, that sound. And yeah, it really went great. Got Tripsy Leary on there, and Beard Thug, Albie, and Jazzy, who are really, really dope. They're like out of Florida. It's Albie and his girlfriend Jazzy, which is cool. They're like,
oh, that's cute. That's a couple goals right there. Cute.
So she does vocals and he does the production, and they do kind of like hyper pop rap. Glitch.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's definitely something I'm into.
Really
so I'll have
cool.
to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we got their debut EP, which is coming out on the Dojo label next month. Our next release is Tyrese, who he's not very well known now. It's his first release, but if you want like big room, like melt your face bass music, he is like it's pretty much like I know that's those are gonna be hits. It's like that Matter EP, like when we put out that first Matter EP, it was just like just instant instant momentum. He's got that sound, you know. So
All
it's
right.
like it's a lot like the Matter EP, but like you know, kind of more his own thing too. But yeah, so Tyrese is coming next, and then we got a full EP from Albie and Jazzy, the really cute EP, and that's their debut EP, and it's super dope. So anyway, their track killed it on the compilation. And then we got Spiderhound on there too. Spiderhound is like another one of the original 12, and he's
Okay.
so talented. He's doing all his own visuals now, and the guy makes like 3 tracks a week, like consistently. And he's like, he's
All
got a
right.
family, and he
He's
does
doing
all
it
kinds of
all.
like, he does label, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, he's like probably the most productive person I know. It's crazy. But yeah, so he's on there, and there's like a big list, you know, Delta 9 and like all kinds of people are on there,
Okay.
and yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah, it just hit #1 today, so it's like high fives all around, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked. And then I did a track with one of my dojo guests. Like sometimes people fly in to train with me, so Galactic Groove, he came in to train with me, and he
Okay.
had this awesome Raga Twins vocal that he had the rights for. So we were like, oh, sick, let's do it. So yeah, so the vocals by Raga Twins, but it was from Splice, and you're not supposed to put people's credits when you do it from Splice because then they don't. Then the Spotify, like, you know, it's like with Trapezoid, like it's a riff raff sample, but you don't
Oh,
put
okay.
riff raff on it, or else
Yeah.
like everybody that's used that sample will be on a Spotify, and it'll be crazy.
Mm.
And it would be really kind of annoying too if you like had someone who's like sampled you, and then that's your #1 track, and you're
Yeah.
like, no, this is my album. I don't even make this genre of music, you know. So I can see why they have that policy. But anyway, so it's a Raga Twins vocal. I love the Raga Twins. I think they're fantastic. They've been killing it for decades. But yeah, so we got a track with the Raga Twins vocal. It's pretty good. Really gets the job done. I was playing in my live shows before the pandemic. Like I said, it's nesting my eggs.
Yep.
But yeah, that one really gets it done. It's called Let's Go. But yeah, that
Okay.
compilation, I'm really stoked about the compilation and everything. So yeah, you can check that out. It's called Obscurities with the K, Volume 2, and it's doing real well. So you should check
Yeah,
it
it
out and get it
sounds
when it's
like it.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Might
Yeah.
as well. I just wanted to ask a couple more questions. I know you're a busy
Yeah,
man.
sure. Ask anything you
You
want,
got
man.
a
I set
few
aside
other.
lots of time too, so you know I'm
Oh,
chill.
all right, all right. Well, I don't want to keep you though because you're busy, man. Hey, this week was really busy for you. You got a lot of stuff going on. But which you prefer more? Because it sounds like you're like a really great teacher and also a really great producer. But like, if you
Oh,
had to
definitely,
pick one, which one?
definitely producing. Definitely
Okay.
producing. I just teach because like again and again and again, people are like, "You're literally the best person at this," you know. So I'm like, okay, I guess I should do it.
Yeah, might
Yeah,
as
'cause, I mean,
well.
I fucking read a lot. Like I read like a book every week, and like my mom's a teacher, and like you know I went
Mm,
to university and stuff, and I just like I find it very easy to explain music production concepts, and a lot of the time like you know I'll like because I take courses from people who are like really well known, and they might be able to make like amazing music, but they're not necessarily the best at explaining what they're doing.
yeah, of course.
And I just have a natural gift for that. So, you know, I think I'm naturally better at explaining things. Yeah, like guys, I may be I'm pretty decent at it, decent enough to make a living and have fans and
Mhm.
stuff, but I'm not like you know, it's not like I'm like Tipper or something, you know, like it's
Yeah, no, I get it.
I
I
know
get
I'm
it.
not like the best producer ever, but in terms of teaching, that does seem to be something that I actually, you know, a lot of people say that to me. So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
might as
put more
well.
time in. And every time I do something, it fucking just like blows up. So I'm like, okay, okay. So I do that because I'm good at it, and I do music because I love it. You know, so it's but I mean, I just love DJing, man. DJing live shows and stuff, especially when I do like the audio video thing. It's like,
Yeah, that's
you
crazy
know,
as hell.
I
Like you were
I
saying,
love
you
that
sync
shit.
up the video with the audio. Like that's really crazy. Yeah, like you don't see stuff like that typically. But I mean,
No,
hey, you come out and you just bring the heat.
yeah, it's good times, man. It's good times, especially when you get like a nice playback rig for it. It can be really powerful, you know. And I think it's like you can get away with stuff in a video set that wouldn't make
Mhm.
sense in an audio set too. Like sometimes I'll play like, you know, skits and stuff, like in the middle of
Okay.
it, as like a transition in between tracks, kind of like you would
Yeah.
in like a rap album. But you don't normally
Little
get that in
interlude.
a
Yeah.
standard DJ set. But like if there's like some cartoons and they're like talking about some crazy shit, and then you completely change genres, like you can get away with that in a DJ VJ set that wouldn't necessarily
Hmm.
make sense in a pure DJ set. So I really dig that. And then like I'll go and like I just did this bootleg of this of Only You by Portishead, where they have that
Okay.
video where they're underwater. Because Chris Cunningham, he did all the Aphex Twin videos and the Square Pusher
Yeah.
video, Bjork and stuff.
Hmm.
So he did this video for Portishead back in the day where they built this set that was like a gloomy English alleyway, and they
Okay.
filled it with water. And then they shot everything. They trained like the actors and Beth Gibbons from Portishead to sing backwards. So everything is
Huh.
backwards and underwater. It's fucking crazy. It's like such a sick video. I was just like, I need this for my video set, man. Like this is wild. So I mashed it up with like a Maru track and a DMVU beat, and like just like it's pretty crazy. So stuff like that I would do more in like a video set than an
Hmm.
audio only set. But yeah, it just really lends itself to just different levels of expression. And I also like I was a professional graphic designer for a while, and like
Yeah,
went to
makes
art
sense.
school for many years when I was a kid. So it gives me a chance to like express myself at a deeper level than with just music. So it's pretty fun.
Hmm.
And then I love directing music videos, man. It's so fun to like come up with a concept and go
I
out there
get
and
it.
film it. It's always such a high, like
No, I
when
get
you're
it.
like yeah, it's pretty fun. Like I did this video with Sixth Street, actually, where we did two videos back to back. His is out, but mine is for the album in January, which I think I'm gonna call Bent. Like it's done, I'm just like doing the videos and the art and stuff for it. But I
Okay.
think the January one's gonna be called Bent. And we did this video for this song I did with Spiderhound called Wake Up, where we like went out because like the dojo HQ back in LA before I moved to Canada, it was like in the heart of the artist district, and the artist district is like
Gotcha.
an industrial
Yeah.
warehouse. Like it just looks like a music video. You just go outside, it just looks like a music video.
Yeah. No,
So we
I get
got
what
like
you're saying.
obnoxiously expensive cameras, and like got some dancers, and like Sixth Street helped out with the choreography and stuff. We got like did like bone breaking and these like just piles of fucking garbage and shit, and then
Okay.
got this famous body painter to paint our dancer, like all psychedelic and shit, and like he looked like a
Mhm.
fucking Marvel superhero walking around with like fucking all these extra eyeballs and shit. People were
That's
like,
crazy.
"What the fuck is going on?" Because we were just like walking around the neighborhood filming
Yeah.
stuff. And then we did like animation on top of body painting, on top
Okay.
of bone breaking in the
That's
fucking
crazy.
like
Okay.
warehouse. It's so sick. It's so sick. So that one's coming out in January. And then I actually had a video that was supposed to be for departures for this tune called Krakatoa, which I made in Bali while I was traveling around. And I was like incorporating some sounds from some traditional Balinese instruments that like
Oh, okay.
this dude I met. He was like, "Yo, you got to record me. Like, I'll show you these instruments." So he made me some instrument recordings and gave me permission to use them, which
That's
was
pretty
very
cool.
nice of him.
Yeah.
And I made this kind of volcano themed like deep dub track called Krakatoa that was track 2 off of my album Departures. And we made this really elaborate music video for Krakatoa. There was like a volcano themed music video with animations, and like my friend Stas was dancing on a green screen. We like painted her all up and like got her in all these
Okay.
like crazy outfits and shot on the green screen. And the week we were going to release the music video for Krakatoa, the actual Krakatoa volcano in Indonesia erupted and like killed hundreds of people.
Oh, no,
And it was
no.
all over the news.
Oh,
And I was like,
fuck.
oh man, even if we do this as a charity thing, people are going to be like, how did you have this video ready for this exact week? Like, this is weird, dude.
That's
And I'm just like,
horrible.
I don't want any volcano. Like, because I get rumors that I'm like in the Illuminati and shit. Because like I
Yeah.
met Bill Gates and stuff, and like people are like, oh, you're part of the Illuminati, and I'm like, dude, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, Ill Gates has the keys to harp, and he's fucking part of the New World Order or some fucking nonsense shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we can't do this, even if we do it at a fundraiser too. It's weird. It's weird. So I made a new version of Krakatoa that's like totally different, that still fits the music video. So that video is coming
Okay.
out, but that video is so sick. And that's again with Black Lake. Like shout outs to Black Lake, man. That guy is a crazy animator, like super super cool. But yeah, so that's coming out, and then there's yeah, there's a lot of music videos because I'm doing all audio video live sets, so I try to make as many music videos as I can now. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for all this stuff to come out. And yeah, there's a bunch of other loose tracks too. I mean, I could go on all day, but yeah, I'm really pumped, man. Doing videos is a good time. Playing video sets is a good time, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just life is good. Life is
No,
good.
I
No
don't. No, it
complaints.
really sounds like it. Yeah, you're killing it right now. Like you said, you've just been waiting. You've just been sitting on these things, but just making them as good as possible. Um, you're a busy man. I don't want to keep you much longer. I'm going to ask you two more questions. They
All
are
right,
questions
word.
we
Yeah,
ask all
sure,
of our
sure.
guests. So the first question is, I mean, you mentioned like quite a bit just because of like the producer dojo and everything. Are there any artists that you're listening to or working with right now? You can go ahead and shout them all out again, just to label them in order. Go ahead
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
list them.
Okay, well, some people that I did not mention yet that I'm very excited about. Bill Bless is one of my. I've known him forever. Like I've known him since I first started DJing in like the '90s, and he's
Okay.
one of those people who is like. A lot of people call him the other tipper. But he's like been kind of behind the scenes, and he was like a deep part of the early new school break scene. He was a deep part of
Okay.
the early glitch hop experimental scene, and he makes some like wildly psychedelic music that and it's so like you can listen to stuff that he did 20 years ago. That the mixing, the sound design, the style, and the composition make it sound like it came out yesterday. Like
That's
it's
okay. That's
timeless, like
crazy.
amazing. So we'd been meaning to work together for a long time, and we finally did. And we did a track with this rapper named Candisha, who is on the come up, who is so sick. Like she can rap, she can
I have to have her on
sing,
then.
she can write all of her own shit. And I found out about her from this joint that she did with Falcons called Ride, which
Okay.
is so sick. And they shot the music video in the middle of the George Floyd riots and shit. It's awesome.
Oh shit. Okay.
So sick. So definitely check out Candisha, and watch out for a new track. So it's like it's really cool to do a track that's like way different from anything that any of us have done.
Hmm.
You know, like it sounds pretty different from Bill Bless's discography. It sounds different from my discography. It definitely sounds different from Candisha's discography. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I also want to give a big shout out to Kelly Finn, who is another one of the visual artists that I'm working with. She is very, very cool, and she's been doing really big things. She did the music video for Trapezoid, but we're
Okay.
working on some videos together. And then again, major shout outs to Mayor Apeshit. He's another one of my favorite vocalists. He's on a bunch of my tracks. We got some new stuff in the works too, and he's been playing me some of his new tracks that are just awesome, man. That guy's a beast. Yeah, he's a beast. And then yeah, Mr. Bill and I have some stuff in the works too. So big shouts out to Mr. Bill. He's yeah, he's definitely the homie. And I did an official remix for Alanis Morissette the other
No
day, which is
way. That's
pretty
crazy.
wild. Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood in Canada.
No,
So
no way.
yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, and Solai, who's he's a rapper in the kind of West Coast festival scene. I toured with Solai before, and he ended up getting married to Alanis Morissette like 10 years ago. So they're
Wow.
yeah, so he
Small
was like,
fucking
"Hey,
world.
I've got one of my new Solai tracks that has Alanis singing the hook on it. Do you want to do a remix?" And we've been meaning to work together for a long time. And he actually Bill Bless is his producer too. So shout outs to
Jesus.
Solai, shout outs to Alanis, of course.
Of
And
course.
yeah, so those are pretty exciting too. And then yeah, I got a bunch more other little things coming out. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of artists coming up really hard. Big ups to Unk as well, UHNK. He's really rad. You should check him out. And you know, everybody over at Producer Dojo has been awesome. Like Hexis, Matter is Hexis now, Hexis, because there were too many other Matters. But he's Hexus now, and his new stuff is really good. Munchie's coming up hard, like Munchii. He's got some really good new stuff coming out. Cheryl Kelby is another dojo cat who's been doing really, really well. Rip Kenny, of course. Rip Kenny is a monster, man. That guy's one of the best producers ever, and he's just getting started. But he does this really cool blend where it's kind of like pop punk slash metal slash bass music, and he
Oh,
works a
okay.
lot with vocals and stuff. And it's got, it like kind of sounds a little glitch mobby, but like kind of a little excision-y at the same time. And then like it's super tight. Like he's just like pro level, like big time. Yeah, so I definitely want to give him a shout out too, and yeah, and then of course everyone else I've already mentioned, but don't overwhelm people, but
No,
yeah,
it's all
big
good.
shouts out to all those people, and an extra shout out to everyone who I didn't mention.
Of course, of course. And then just a final question, but more so just like a piece of advice. And I know we talked a lot about like just doing your own thing, but if there's anything else that, and just like trusting yourself, but if there's anything else that you wanted to just tell like any up and coming artists or
Yeah,
producers.
okay. I think in terms of things to tell producers, I was told this again and again and again, and I ignored it for so long, and it was really foolish to ignore it. And that's basically that the fundamentals are by far the most important thing, you know? And when you listen to like music, made on an MPC, for example, they don't, like, until recently the MPC had no plugins, and it was just like editing audio,
Mm-hmm.
basic EQ, basic reverb and delay. That's it. And the music that is made within those limitations is so like it's endless, and like people can always surprise you with the MPC. And I think like when you focus like there's so many of these like automatic everything plugins and shortcuts and blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and all of those shortcuts are just a shortcut to realize that there are no shortcuts, really. you know and like learning how to like A/B reference your track with tracks from artists that you like, and really like using your ears and being like, hey, how are the highs, how's the stereo image, how's the punch, how's the sub, because like literally 80% of mixing is just picking the right sound, putting it at the right volume and at the right spot in the composition, and it's so easy to get distracted by all these plugins that are, and all the ads for all the plugins and shit. They're like, making your own drum sounds is super hard. Don't try it. Mixing
Yeah.
is super, super hard. We all know how hard it is. Let us make it easy for you. And it's like,
Yeah.
all that shit is just like, it's just crutches,
Oh, definitely.
crutches. And like, if you are trying to learn to produce, like leveling, EQ, compression, they're like the least exciting things to learn. But that is like properly understanding leveling, EQ, and compression, properly understanding composition, learning how to do more with less, and just focusing on the fundamentals. Like that's, and then like, when you listen to like artists like like Flostradamus or whatever, they made their whole career with like literally their songs will just be like a sample from a record and a sick 808 beat, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's great,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like it's so easy to just get caught up with all this shit. And man, like all this like music with the like super aggressive trendy bass sounds and stuff is gonna sound super fucking dated super soon.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
like
Yeah. A lot of producers were saying the same exact thing about
yeah,
that.
and like genres are born in rule breaking and they die in conformity. And if you can figure out a way to break the rules, the compositional rules that everyone else is doing. Ask yourself, what do all these artists have in common that I'm gonna actively not do? If you want to sound different, that's how you do it. Be like, okay, what is everybody not doing? And how can I explore that? Because it's much more about leveraging your strengths than filling in your weaknesses.
Oh,
And
definitely.
if you focus on like greatness itself. You know, like don't focus on the people that are immediately next to you, and don't try and like compete with the people that are immediately next to you, or the people that are trying to copy off the people that are immediately next to you. You know, go listen to like Amy Winehouse or like Nina Simone, or you know Cold Cut, or you know like Eric B and Rakim, and like you know think like, okay, what can I learn from how Eric B constructs his rhymes that I can apply to bass lines? Or like you know like Biggie, you know, when he was learning how to rap, he had a neighbor who was like a jazz musician who kind of like took young
Oh, okay.
Christopher under his wing, and he was like, yo, this is how the jazz snare drum rhythms work. You know, how can you turn jazz snare drum rhythms into rapping? And that's why Biggie like only uses like 1 and 2 syllable words in his raps,
Huh.
and
I
his
never even
flow is
never
so
noticed that.
tight, is because he's like, okay, how could I take a jazz snare drum and turn that into rap? You know, and
Huh.
that's the kind of thinking, like when you focus on really studying the greats and studying how the greats use the fundamentals, that is going to take you way further than all the fucking Instagram pop-up ads about like, hey, use this trendy plugin, blah blah blah, it's a shortcut, it'll make it fucking easy. It's like, you know, nothing worth much is easy.
Oh,
You know, if it
100%.
was that easy and you could just press the make a hit button, everybody would fucking do it.
Yeah,
You know,
everyone making hits.
what makes like a like style is more important than fucking technique by far. And coming up with a fresh style, it's like those plugins, it's like somebody's come up with the way that shit sounds for you. You know, like that's, you know, they might give you sounds you can use in your tracks, but you didn't create the style that comes out of that plugin. You know, how you create a style is like composition, you know, composition and flow, you know, and composition and flow. Everything else, like you can get someone to help you with your mix downs. You know, you can get someone to help you with your mastering. You know, you can get sounds for free on the internet. You know, none of that shit is really a problem. All these ads and shit, and that's why you never see me advertising shit like, oh yeah, fucking make your hits is fucking instant trap banger. You never see me make ads like that, because that's fucking bullshit. It's parasitic and
Yeah.
it sucks, you know? So, you know, you gotta recognize there's no shortcuts, and studying the greats and studying the fundamentals and how the greats use the fundamentals, and how you can translate fundamental aspects from one aspect of greatness to another, you know? And it's like recontextualizing things, like when Biggie was copying his flow from snare drums. I guarantee you that at some point Biggie like wrote down snare drum flows and was like, let me put the words from that. And he stole those flows, but he put his own words, you know? And to
Yeah.
him, it was probably as easy as copying. But the fact that he was copying something from a completely different fucking context, that allows you to do something simple that is powerful, you know? Um, because you can always make shit more complicated, but only a fucking master can make things more simple and elegant, you know? And
Yeah.
that shit is so much more important than flashy plugins and trends and copying off the person next to you. And like, because that shit, like all those ads and all those plugins and shit, they're designed to prey on your insecurities, you know? And comparison is the thief of joy, straight up.
Yeah.
And if you're just sitting there fucking dick measuring all day, and then you got your fucking EDM dick pill plugin fucking showing up on your Instagram, and you let that determine how you approach music, you're fucked. That's not going to get you anywhere. You know, trendy
Yeah,
plugins and
definitely.
shortcuts are not going to get you anywhere. Focus on the fundamentals, focus on greatness, and focus on your fucking discipline. You know, do the hard thing first. Focus on discipline. Show up every day. You know,
Amen.
and that's
Yes.
like that's the way, man. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's the
Yeah.
fucking truth. And you can either realize it for yours now, or you can go spend a bunch of money on bullshit and waste a bunch of time on bullshit and realize it for yourself. But
Yeah.
you're gonna make that evolution, you have to realize this.
Yeah, who you
So
can listen to too. You can listen to a man who's been doing it for as long as he's ever wanted to do it, and someone who's made this much of an empire pretty much off of doing what he loves, or are you gonna go figure it out on your own? Like, come on,
Yeah, and
right
if
here's the way to
if
listen.
you're gonna fucking take production courses, go check out that person's discography first. Does that person make music you like? Check that shit
That's
out. You
true.
know, like I'll go take a Saruta course. I'll go take a Chi course. I'll go take a Noisia course. But like some person on YouTube with a bunch of followers but no music I like, I don't know if I'm
Mm,
buying that course. You know,
yeah,
like
that makes
and you got
sense.
and if someone doesn't have a lot of followers but they do have good music, then I'm like, ooh, this is good because not everybody's gonna have these tips. You know,
Mm,
but yeah, so you know, check people's discographies if you're gonna see like, is this person legit? See if they've actually released music. See if it's any good. You know, and
it seems
you'd
fair.
think that would be obvious, but it's increasingly obvious that and fucking feed browsing is like the bane of humanity. Like, don't just fucking procrastinate and see
Yeah.
what comes up in front of you. Okay? Because if you're just procrastinating and feed browsing, I guarantee you what you need to know is not in that motherfucking feed. I
Yeah, it's just
guarantee
showing you
you.
stuff that is trying to distract you from what you want to know. Even if it
Exactly.
isn't, even if it isn't consciously doing it, it's in a way it's hindering you from finding the answers. So,
Yeah. Like that shit's all designed to grab your attention, but it's not what you need. You know, you got to go out
100%.
there and you got to search for what you need.
And
You
be
got to
active.
actively search for what you need. It's not going to come to you. You got to go to
Same,
it.
yeah. Same thing with your dreams and everything. I mean, yeah, like we're talking earlier. You got to be your own agent. You have to take control of everything, but it's out there for you. You know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All right.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, it's been
With that
swell.
being said, yeah, we had a great interview. I had a great time talking with you. You said some really interesting things, and just like just the amount of time that you spent in the music industry and everything. It just obviously it shows, and your success, like you're saying, may not be outright, but the fact that you are living comfortably and you're happy and you're successful
It's what I wanted, you know.
exactly,
It's
yeah,
exactly what I wanted.
so
And
clearly, yeah, you found the sauce and you're sharing it and you're making more, you know. Just wanted to come on and say thank you again to ill.Gates for being an amazing guest. He said some amazing things, said some super interesting takes on life and just different takes on the music industry and just creativity and individuality. And many of us needed to hear that. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram. That is at ill.Gates Music. Don't forget to check out what he's got coming because he's got a lot coming out. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the Rise Music on YouTube. Don't forget to turn on those notifications for the new videos and watch our old videos. Follow us on Instagram. Check us out on SoundCloud. And we will see you next time. Don't forget, we got some big things coming. So peace out, you guys.